Welcome to the Half-Blood Report.
Here we dive deep into recent demigod news, upcoming presents books, questions only Zeus knows the answer to, and all of the things Riordan. I'm Samuel, your co-host.
And I'm Diego, your other co-host.
So let's jump into the demigod news, which, because we didn't record we did do the interview last week, but it was not a regular episode, so there's extra demigod news.
So Riordan 2020 is a readathon for the entire year. And it's
So that's kind of the first piece of demigod news. It's done by the same people who did hashtag demigodathon, and if you don't know what that is, we've been discussing it the past few weeks, but it's basically this readathon where every week throughout February, people are rereading the Percy Jackson Olympian series, each book one by one. And so they hashtag Demigodathon was such a success that now they're doing Riordan 2020, and so throughout 2020, they'll be doing along with us all the Rick Riordan books, and so that's Percy Jackson, Kane Chronicles, Heroes of Olympus, Magnus Chase, and Charles Apollo. And so we'll be reading all the main series in 1 year. And so if you want to get the dates for when to read each book and stuff, just find Riordan 2020 on Twitter.
And also moving on, seeing as Race to the Sun is out, we've gotten a lot of promotional articles. So we've gotten all the dates and locations for Rebecca Roanhorse's tour. We've also gotten Rick wrote a letter kind of introducing Race to the Sun. It's also in the book.
As he does for each Rick Riordan book. Riordan presents books.
It's in the book, and if you guys don't have it already, make sure to visit the website to check it out. It's in all the Rick Riordan Presents books, as Sam mentioned, and we just kind of got it a little bit in advance.
Yeah, and then finally we got on the release date, we actually got the Meet Nizhoni article, and we got the character art for Nizhoni, the main character of the book. I think we're probably gonna start talking about Race to the Sun. Now that it's out, we're probably gonna start talking about it again, reviewing it once we're done with hashtag Demigodathon. So, because I think next week we're doing Titan's Curse because that was Demigodathon. Then we'll be doing Battle of the Labyrinth.
Next week will be and then after that we're doing the last Olympian.
Yeah, and so then we'll probably touch on Race to the Sun and our thoughts about that. And we'll definitely be done with the book.
Yeah.
I've been pacing myself, only reading 30 pages a day, because I want it to last longer, because I expected Race to the Sun to be good, but every Rick Riordan Presents books thus far, it exceeded my expectation, and I was just wow, this is a great book. And so I'm trying to make it last a bit longer, but I'll probably be done with it this week, so that's a sad.
I already finished mine.
Are you kidding?
No, the library. I asked my school library to get it to pre-order in advance. So it actually got there a little bit after
and you
the
read
release date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I also got myself a copy.
I could have finished it by now, but I've just been trying to make it last, because it's we only get so many of these a year. I know
I didn't have the stamina for that.
In a couple of years we'll be getting a Rick Riordan Presents books every month, but I'm trying to make these last just a bit longer, because then it's until April until we get our shot and the Tree of Wishes.
No, earlier, right?
No, it's April.
No, never mind. You're right. April. May is Sal and Gabby too.
Yeah, but May comes
after April. Yeah, I realize that.
And so those are all fun stuff if you want to check it out, all in the show notes. But the biggest piece of demigod news this week is probably ReadRiordan.com posted an article listing all the Rick Riordan and Rick Riordan Presents books for this year. And so I think there weren't a lot of new books announced. Most of these I already knew about. I don't know if that's for everyone because I'm sure like some people didn't know about this. So it's also just a helpful tool to check.
It's
Hey,
kind
what's
of our
happening in
job
2020?
to know about these things.
Yeah, our non-paid, more of a hobby, but um, yeah. So we got all most of these, and then so the ones that you can pre-order, they gave like pre-order links for and everything. Um, what I was interested, so the one new book we got announced was Tristan Strong 2.
Yeah.
Super pumped for it. You know, it's called Tristan Strong Destroys the World, coming out October 6th. And
Yeah,
so
it
that's
looks
the
like Kwame picked up
only
Carlos Hernandez's vibe.
I hadn't actually thought of that, but yeah, you're right. No, I think probably of the Rick Riordan Presents books, Tristan Strong and Sal and Gabby have the most similarities in that Tristan Strong, he travels to alternate dimensions. He, you know, he likes to break universes. He breaks a unit. He punches a hole in the sky, and now he's destroying the world. You know, the titles are just similar. Yeah, you're right. But I was interested because on Rick Riordan's website it says that Plague God, which I think we discussed in episode 12 with Izzy,
Yeah.
Plague God, Mesopotamian Rick Riordan presents book. Rick Riordan says that it's coming out fall 2020,
But it
and
was
it's not
not
listed.
mentioned in the article,
Yes,
so
not mentioned on this article. So, Uncle Rick hasn't been known to be the best when it comes to Rick Riordan presents release dates. Like he switched like when he first announced Race to the Sun and Tristan Strong, he switched up on their like release dates. And so I think maybe he was just wrong and Play God is coming out like summer 2021. I mean fall 2021. Or maybe it's just like coming out early like January or February of 2021. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of. I did see Sarwat Chatta, the author of Plague God, say City of the Plague God, say on Twitter that cover art was coming soon. So I don't think that we would get cover art if the book was coming out as far out as 2021. But then again, it wasn't mentioned in the
well,
article.
there was no
Um,
actual cover art, but
no, there is no cover art as of yet for City of the Plague God. But Sarwat Chatta said on Twitter that it is coming. Like he's already seen it. So they're just
uh,
like waiting to release it. Um, and like Rick Riordan said that he got to see the cover art for City of the Plague God and Tristan Strong 2 at the same time. So that makes me think they're coming out in similar times. So I think that we can expect City of the Plague God to come out November of 2020 this year. It's hard for me to think of this year's 2020 still, but yeah, so I think we can probably expect Plague God for November 2020. And it was just wasn't announced in this article because it's like the last one in the year and it's still in the works maybe.
it seems really unlike Reed Riordan to forget a publication. So maybe they just know that it's coming out in January 2021, um, just a bit further back. So they decided not to include it in the article.
Yeah, that could be it. I still think it's probably going to come out November. Because it like Rick
Yeah, because
Ryan
of the
did
cover art.
say fall 2020.
Yeah,
And that's the like the fact that that's the only thing we do know about it. I think
yeah, it's
could
kind of
just
been
be that.
shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. It's probably besides I think it's probably besides the Last Fallen Star. It's probably the Rick Ryan Presents book we know least
Yeah,
about. So,
yeah.
but if you want to know more about it, you can listen to episode 12.
Well, where we chat with our guest host,
Right.
Izzy, kind of about what it's about. So moving on. It's time for Mimir's Well.
Yeah. So in this section, we discuss questions from fans who send it in to us.
Yeah, so if you want your question here, just shoot us an email or a tweet, or find us on Discord.
Yeah. So today's question is from Chaka Bangaso on the Riordan Wiki Discord. And it's less of a question and more of a theory. So I'm gonna kind of break it down. So basically, um this idea is that so chaos as we learned in, I think it was Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes, chaos was the only being around when he was around, except there were also cows. Um, and so this theory basically says, why were there cows around? Well, they were remnants from a universe that came before chaos. And so when that universe was destroyed, the cows somehow survived. And so I think this is actually a kind of interesting theory because it could actually be a way for the Rick Riordan Presents books to actually be interpreted. Like they each exist in their separate universes. What if their universes were like coming before chaos, who led all the way to like modern day Percy Jackson? It's kind of a weird and very very out there theory. Um, but you know, maybe as well we talk about what you guys want us to talk about.
Um, yeah, so basically it's kind of saying how every single universe in any of like the Rick Riordan or Rick Riordan Presents books, um they all kind of are allowed to coexist. Like the Duat coexist with kind of like the other things because they're remnants from different universes.
Yeah. I do think so. That's a possible way to integrate the Rick Riordan Presents books into the same universe, if the authors ever choose to do that to like work together collectively on a book. Um, because like I think we all want a Rick Riordan and Rick Riordan Presents crossover, but like Rick Riordan said, oh, they're their own authors' creations in their own separate universe. But I think it's still possible that we could, very unlikely, but still possible that maybe the all our favorite Rick Riordan Presents authors and Rick Riordan could team up and write a crossover. But I think so. That's one way to tie all the universes together. But I think a much easier way is just with Sal and Gabby. Like Sal and
Yeah.
Gabby already have universe altering powers, right? It would be no biggie to write them into this sort of thing when like Sal and Gabby find out that there's like this thing that's going to destroy the multiverse. So um they just like open like a bunch of portals and like pull out heroes from different
Yeah,
universes. Like
that
Tristan
seems
Shaw,
like a
Tara
very
Shaw, hey Percy from Camp Half Blood.
yeah, it seems like a very
And then they just
CW thing to do. Kind of like the Flash
it
and the
seems
Arrow and
so
Supergirl.
CW. Um oh, I haven't actually seen any of the CW crossovers since like the first big one. Like when they fought the aliens. If you're not a CW fan, please excuse me. I haven't been in like a couple of years, but yeah, so CW flat there was this in like the first major crossover, they're like, oh, there are aliens and they're attacking Earth. And so Flash is like, let me call Arrow, let me call DC's Legends, and then he's like, oh yeah, because these aliens are really powerful, I'm gonna need someone who's an expert at fighting aliens who also happens to be an alien. So he just goes to Supergirl's universe and like, hey, want to fight aliens on my planet instead of yours? CW's weird. Let's move on.
Yeah, so
Hopefully, a Rick Riordan presents slash Rick Riordan crossover won't be as whack as CW's
all
stuff.
right. So let's move on to our next section.
Riordan review. The name is pretty self-explanatory. In this section, we review either a recent Riordan book or a reread.
And so we're continuing the pattern of following along with hashtag Demigodathon. So we're gonna be reading the most hashtag Demigodathon book.
Yeah, the most recent. And so, hashtag Gamigodathon was reading The Titan's Curse this week. So that's this week's Riordan review.
Yeah. So, overall thoughts or things that you realized the second time around.
Second time around. This is my second time reading The Titan's Curse, Diego.
Third, fourth, fifth. It's all
Yeah,
blurring together.
like millionth. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Again, I've been doing the audiobooks this time with hashtag Demigarathon, and it's 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 a challenge. Uh oh I think it's is no I Magnus Chase's mom is Natalie Chase. Do we know what Annabeth's stepmom's name is?
I forget.
Anyways, her voice in the audiobook is like super weird and hard to understand. She's only there for like 2 seconds, but like I don't know. I just needed to mention how annoying Annabeth stepmom's voice was.
How annoying Annabeth is.
No,
Period.
I hope you mean in the audiobook and not as a character. Um,
I
no.
met the character.
So I think Titan's Curse is probably one of my favorite Percy
Yeah,
Jackson
definitely.
books. It might like I think it's probably Lightning Thief and then Titan's Curse, maybe. The main problem of
No, for me it's Last Olympian and Titan's Curse.
the main problem I've always had with the Titan's Curse is it's such a great Percy Jackson book. I think like there are just so many parts about it that I love, like the neat like Bianca. Like I love Bianca as a character, and Titan's Curse is the one book where we get to see her really like actually like yes, I know she comes like in a ghost as like Battle of the Labyrinth, but that doesn't count. It's also the book where we get a lot of Grover like it's one of the few books where we actually get Grover besides the Lightning Thief. It's a book where we actually get to encounter Talia. It's probably the only book where we really get to have Talia. Like I know she appears in other books, but I think
Yeah, it's the
Titan's
only one
Curse
where she's like a major character.
front. It's the only one where she's front and center the whole book. Like she's front and center
Yeah.
in other books at certain times, but never front and center the whole book except Titan's Curse. And so I love like the final fight with Atlas, Percy holding up the sky, uh, like Annabeth's dad coming with like a
I love
helicopter.
Talia zapping Luke off the cliff.
Uh, the introduction, yeah, like the introduction of Rachel's lives. There are so many things to love about a Titan's Curse, but every time I read it, there's one thing I just don't like about it, and like it's probably the reason that it's not my favorite Percy Jackson book. And this is basically we don't get to see a lot of Annabeth, right? Uh, it's not like
No, that's exactly why it's my favorite Percy Jackson book.
No, it's not that like Annabeth is my favorite character or like
You're right,
Annabeth,
Sam. She isn't.
but what it's just Annabeth is so integral to what makes the Percy Jackson series the Percy Jackson series. Just Annabeth smart, always helping Percy, just um being Annabeth, and I think that's what Annabeth was a huge part of why the Lightning Thief was a success. Why the Percy Jackson series is a success as a whole. Like I love her arc in Percy Jackson and Olympians. I love her arc in the Heroes of Olympus, especially Mark of Athena, and Titan's Curse. Annabeth basically gets downgraded to the damsel in distress, and I think it's really good.
Yeah, she's not there for basically the entire book.
Yeah, it's a really good arc for Percy and the Titan's Curse, especially when Aphrodite's like, "Ah, true love," and the Percy's like, "What?"
What do
But
you mean?
but yeah, so that's what like it's good for Percy, like him having a reason to want to save Artemis. He's like he doesn't really care that much about Artemis, but like he goes on this quest for Annabeth. And
Goddess
so
what?
so I think Annabeth not being around, it's like really hard for me because I understand how it's really good, like plot wise for Percy, but it just feels so wrong. Annabeth not being right there the whole time in the book, you know?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. We kind of don't get their back and forth banter. Though Talia is a pretty good stand-in.
Yeah, and also Zoe Nightshade, her total
Yeah.
banter with just basically everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, Zoe's just such a great character.
But it just doesn't feel the same. Um.
Feels like just a missing part.
Also, I think the absolute like winner of characters in all of Rick Riordan's books of characters that were killed off too early, Bianca D'Angelo
Bianca.
is the
Yeah, wins.
absolute winner. Like not only did she like die young and it's sad and like she had just joined the hunters, but like we had just gotten introduced to her as a character. Like literally the chapter before she dies is when we actually get to know her. And she just is so interesting, and I always wanted to meet more of her. I always wanted her to like fight on, and I understand how it was necessary for Nico when events that follow, but you know, Bianca D'Angelo, she's just such a cool character, and I think her dying is just probably one of the saddest moments in Percy Jackson as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Cuz it's so much like character potential that just goes away.
Yeah, it's like at one from the one standpoint, it just it's it's sad because yeah, this character died, but on the other hand, it's also sad because you're like as a reader, you wanted to know more about the character and you didn't get to. I I think if we had gotten to know her like a bit better, like we had gotten to meet more of her throughout the Titan's Curse, then I think I would be more okay with her death. But like I just said, we
Yeah.
when when
Rick
we
killed her
for
off way too early.
yeah, we meet Bianca the chapter before she dies. Like that's basically it. Like yes, technically we meet her at the beginning of the book, but like the first actual conversation Percy has with Bianca happens the chapter before she dies, and that's like it was almost like I feel Uncle Rick is like, oh wait, I'm gonna kill this person to help Nico's character arc in book 4. That means that I need to like make it sad when she dies.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's like,
But
let me like make you actually care about this character before I kill them.
it was it was one of Uncle Rick's worst moments.
Well, I don't think it's like badly written. Like
No, no,
it's
it's well written. Just
yeah,
it's evil.
and the it's evil. Um, well, at least he's not like J.K. Rowling who like killed Fred or something.
Yeah, she really had to do that.
Whatever. Harry Potter sucks. Everyone knows it. Yeah.
um, people who listen to this podcast, just so you know, Sam was joking about that. He doesn't actually mean it.
Well, Percy Jackson. Harry Potter sucks. All right, let's
No, no,
go.
no, no! Please keep listening. Don't tune out. Please don't go.
Uh, yeah. So, uh, what about you, Diego? What were you thinking about it?
Um, well, I was kind of thinking like more like the actual adventure and kind of some backstory like with Zoe's family and learning about Atlas and stuff. That was like super interesting. And then like throughout it we got like a bunch of flashbacks. Um which I thought like was really cool because the flashbacks just add so much. You get a lot of that in Trials of Apollo too, with Apollo, like remembering things from his past and stuff. And I just like that so much there. And like the Trials of Apollo books weren't written when I first read the Titan's Curse, but now like seeing how like books can be filled with these flashback moments, reading Titan's Curse like around this time, I just kind of realized them a lot more.
Yeah, I also think what was I gonna say? Let me think. Oh yeah, so when I read Titan's Curse for the first time, it was my least favorite of the Percy Jackson books. When
What?
I read it
Why?
when I read it for my second time, it was still my least favorite, and I when I read it from like my third time, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is my favorite of the series, maybe like second favorite to Lightning Thief." And the reasons it took me a while to like it is A, Annabeth not being around, but it also just it feels kind of crowded. I think
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
like not like just in characters. Like yes, you have to focus on 5 characters traveling instead of 3, right? And then it also feels crowded like there a lot happens in the book. Like I think the
So
only
many storylines.
I think like Battle in the Labyrinth and Last Olympian, they start to get a bit more crowded, but like especially Last Olympian was so much in Battle Ever. Yeah, they do have a lot, but like Titan's Curse just feels like the one that could have been like if you were to write them all out as like large as you can and actually expand the plot, I think Titan's Curse is the one that could be expanded on most and was just kind of like cut off because there's so
Yeah,
much going on, but they're not going into depth. Like I
yeah.
think if you're gonna
I
have
feel
a
like it
lot,
could be split into like a couple books. Or
yeah, if you're gonna have like a lot going on, then you gotta kind of touch on everything that's going on in like a way that isn't like doesn't take too long, but like is is like good, like does that topic justice, right? And so I think at Battle of the Labyrinth, and a little bit in the Last Olympian, that is done. Like every topic that's covered is done justice. But in Titan's Curse, like the Ophiotaurus, like it's okay, but like all of a sudden, yeah, it's just like there at the end. And then like Zoe Nightshade, she's like, oh yes, I'm Atlas's daughter at the end. And then like it just kind of all comes pouring out at the end. And so I think like the first few times reading it, I was just like, "Look, that's dumb, why wasn't that set up better?" um but I think on a like my like more recent rereads, um I've realized like, oh, it is set up better. Like that's why we meet Ophiotaurus at the very beginning. That's why Bessie's at the Hoover Dam. Like, oh, that's why like there's this Hercules dream like of Zoe. Like
yeah,
so it
yeah,
just I think the Titan's Curse is the Percy Jackson book that is like so much better on a reread, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Um, uh, you want to move on, Tim?
Um yeah, I think that's actually it for this episode of the Half Blood Report. Diego, how can I contact this podcast?
You can tweet at us with compliments, questions, corrections, or suggestions at Half Report. You can also find us on Instagram, The Half Blood Report, or email us at our website, thehalfbloodreport.com. That said, it's time for credits. Our theme music is actually by me.
I do most of our editing, and our recording equipment is on loan from William Bachman.
My co host here is Samuel, and I'm Diego.
This is the Half Blood Report podcast, the only HBR that matters. Survive till next week.